an idea. The Avengers Initiative.
A genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Big fan of Spider-Man.
Quick.
What's up, Tic Tac?
I understood that reference. I am Iron Man.
Baskin Robbins always finds out.
Time travel. Dance off, bro.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
Language.
Did I step on your moment?
You ever tried shawarma? There's a shawarma joint about 2 blocks from here. I don't know what it is, but I want to try it.
We're not finished yet.
And then shawarma after.
Welcome back to the Shawarma Joint. I'm one of your hosts, Ella.
And I'm your other host, Avery.
And in honor of the Spider-Man No Way Home wrapping on set, this episode will be about all things Spider-Man.
But first, we want to send out a quick message to all of you Marvel fans. So, as promised, we won't be giving any major spoilers for Falcon and Winter Soldier just yet. This is not about plot. By now, you know that John Walker does play a prominent role. We here at the Shawarma Joint detest John Walker. We can say that now. We want him out of the way. And after episode 2, we got some plot that made him more complex and you start to like him. And we understand. Anyway, we don't like John Walker. And that's just where we're at right now. But all of that should mean that we love Wyatt Russell, because in like 8 seconds of the ending of the first episode with him just winking, the entire fan base hated John Walker, which should mean that we love Wyatt Russell. Now, Wyatt Russell has been getting so much hate, and we need to be able to separate the actor from the character, because that's not what Marvel fans should be doing. We, as Marvel fans, love everything that Marvel puts in, all of the thought, all of the background, all of the Easter eggs, the plot lines, the characters, and the cast. So the fact that we hate John Walker this much means that we should love Wyatt Russell and Marvel for making us hate him. So please, this Shawarma Joint is a Wyatt Russell stan base, okay? End of message.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Okay, so to transition into Spider-Man, I think we should bring up those stupid fake title videos.
Ella and I think it was a school day, and we were in class, right? Yeah, well, we were in Zoom class, and Ella and I were freaking out in our different Zooms, texting each other, being like, oh my God, did you see what Tom just posted? Because this seems like a trap. Like,
and then a few minutes later, Jacob Madelon thinks it's funny to mess with us.
Like, obviously, we didn't know what was happening. But at the same time, for Tom just to post it so chill was like concern. And then Jacob, like, we were like, this makes sense. But at the same time, like, what the hell? And then Zendaya came at us with Home Slice. And I was like, oh, this is great.
I personally think we shouldn't completely ignore those titles. They might be hinting at things.
No, they were definitely intentional. I mean, you could just say they were fun, and they were. But Marvel doesn't just do things. So it might have been done for the sake of fun. But it's fun to say there was a little more to it.
There was a lot that we discussed about these titles. And part of it, I would say I came up with, part of it was through the internet, because I know a lot of people noticed this too. Home Slice could be for Tobey Maguire Spider-Man if we were going to get into multiverse, because Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker was a pizza delivery guy. And then Home Wrecker could be Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, since he wrecked the Stacy home when Gwen Stacy died. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. And then Phone Home would be Tom Holland's Peter Parker, since he's always calling Happy and Aunt May.
And that's like his home. And like Nick Fury dodging his calls. Our little Gen Z Spider-Man. But there is more that we can analyze from this. You might be saying, Avery, what? It was just a black screen. There was no fun stuff on it. Wrong. The letters themselves were different colors. So Phone Home, which was Tom's release, that seemed like it could actually be a title, was like Spider-Man colors. It was blue and red. And then through Home Wrecker and Home Slice, we get green and like a fuchsia, which is the colors for Green Goblin.
Who was brilliantly played by William Dafoe in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
And he's obviously, for those of you who haven't read the comics, he is a huge Spider-Man villain. and plays a big role in the Spider-Man character and franchise. So it would make a lot of sense and be really interesting if this was possibly hinting not that Green Goblin is necessarily even going to be in this film, but that Green Goblin either has a future in the MCU or just tying it to the fact that Tobey Maguire might make an appearance. Green Goblin was part of that. With these title releases from Jacob, Tom, and Zendaya, we also got one set picture from each, and they were all in the same location, like from the same scene, but slightly different pictures. And it was the three of them with their iconic Spider-Man trio, and it finally gave us a little glimpse into what Spider-Man 3 might behold.
So the picture that Tom Holland shared, it was all of them sitting next to each other. And on Zendaya's like coat, you can kind of see the shadow or silhouette of someone. And a lot of people assumed that it was Doctor Strange or Stephen Strange because of the way that it looks, how his hair is parted or their hair is parted. That would be a good way to bring in the multiverse because it is Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But
yes,
we'll talk a little more about that in a little.
Right now, our poor little Peter Parker got some alliteration there for you alliteration fans, whoever you may be. An alliteration fan. Poor Peter Parker is without a father figure again. Dun dun dun. So no Tony Stark, no Beck. So come on, Doctor Strange, step up. So come protect little Peter and then learn that there's some stuff you need to fix. And then head over to the multiverse of madness and swoop up, Scarlet Witch and then be like, yo, you got powerful? Haha. And then have some horror things. And that's for those of you who haven't been educated on what the upcoming movies are going to be. There you go.
Great way to put it.
I love, for those of you who can't see, which is all of you because it's a podcast, Ella's just staring at me a little like dumbfounded right now. But she also looks very mesmerized because I think she's shocked by my genius right now.
I wouldn't say that. The day after all this stupid stuff that they released, we got a title release video.
Woo!
And I mean the actual title. And that title was
Spider-Man No Way Home. And a fun part of this video, first of all, we see them leaving the official like Marvel director office saying, oh, we have to go ask him. This is so weird. We got confused. Thanks. And they're all dressed in their characters' outfits. And that is fun because we've missed our crew.
And then we see them walk by this whiteboard that is full of just random stuff. But then they zoom in on the whiteboard and we see it's not random stuff. It is in fact the title and possibly hints to what Spider-Man 3 will be all about.
Now, you might be thinking, oh my God, I didn't really go through and examine that like a crazy person. Like, I don't even know what they're about to talk about. Well, we did that for you. So we're going to talk right about that right now and do it for you audibly, So you don't have to sit there and stare at a screenshot of a whiteboard. So here we go. Ella, you ready? We're going to quickly bounce off. We're going to just go down the list as fast as possible. Okay, you ready? 1, Home Sweet Home.
Home Worlds.
Work from Home.
Want to go home.
No Place Like Home.
Home Run.
Homemade.
Can't find home.
Close to Home.
Stay at home.
Zooming Home.
Homeschooled.
Homesick.
Webcamming.
Welcome Home.
Home Alone.
And Far From Home? All right, now we'll say a little bit about why each thing was cut off. Because they had little notes on the whiteboard saying the directors went back and were like, why did you put this on the whiteboard?
Okay, so first off, Far From Home, we already did that.
Come on, Marvel. Step up here.
We already did that one.
Home Alone's a great one, but there's copyright issues, guys.
Yeah, Macaulay Culkin would not approve. Homesick. He just got back from a vacation, or not even a vacation. I wouldn't call it a vacation.
Got back from a thing.
From another country. Zooming Home. I like that one. I mean, not as much as No Way Home. It's not as interesting, but it would be a choice.
Marvel execs who were responding on the whiteboard crossed it out and wrote, "Please stop." We don't want more Zoom.
Work from home. Peter Parker is in high school. He doesn't do work. He does homework.
Yeah. Oh my God. If they
Spider-Man homework.
titled the movie Homework, I can't go to Germany. I've got homework. Home worlds. Now
Okay.
on the whiteboard, they wrote boring, but I think that is not boring. I think that is our
Could be a reference to the home worlds of the different Spider-Mans. Spider-Man or Spider-Man?
Ooh, okay. Okay, stop what we're doing. It is time for a quick Shawarma Joint debate. Okay. You ready, Ella?
Mhm.
We have a question on the table. Spider-Men or Spider-Mans?
Okay, so I think it's Spider-Man's because the title is Spider-Man and there are multiple Spider-Man and they're all called Spider-Man. So like if like let's say like your last name has man in it and it's your whole family, you wouldn't change it to men because
Well, we
there's a whole
agree
family.
that, okay, so if it's Spider-Man and his name, superhero name is Spider-Man, then it would be Spider-Man's. But if you're saying that he is a Spider-Man, that like he is one of these superheroes named Spider-Man, then technically it's its own term. So then it would be like a plural version would be the collective Spider-Men. So if we are getting multiverse that has a bunch of different Spider-Mans, then they would actually be Spider-Men because there's multiple of same. But if it's a superhero title, then it's Spider-Man's. Right?
Huh.
So I guess it's up to Marvel whether they're going to give us multiverse content, which we're craving from WandaVision. I think they're just setting us up so when we get it, we're like, ooh.
And we know we are going to get it because Deadpool has been confirmed for the
It's built
MCU.
up so much. They keep having the actors say like, don't build it up. Like Tom Holland came out and said, I can promise you guys, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were not in this movie. And then, as we'll get to later, there was some proof that they likely are. So we know it's coming because at this point, it's so built up that like it'll almost feel like a disappointment if it's not there. And Marvel is about bigger and bigger. So I think if they know that the fans are building it this much, that they're not just gonna, let it be.
Yeah. Okay, going back to the titles on the whiteboard, the last one was Home Sweet Home, which is not that original.
No, but it's cute. I know they said they didn't want it too cutesy, but in Marvel fashion, you got to stress out your main character, right? So No Way Home, I'm
Yeah,
stressed for him.
Ragnarok was basically like the apocalypse of Asgard.
Yeah. But like No Way Home, the obvious thing it would mean is multiverse stuff, that there's literally no way back to his universe. But it could honestly be like No Way Home, like his home is New York, his home is his family, and he's been like blocked out. He's going on another journey and he's with Doctor Strange and there's no way back to his original life now that his identity is out. Because remember where we left off, Peter Parker's in a pickle.
So adding on to what Avery just said about where we left off, okay, I saw a rumor today that so he had his cameo at the end of Far From Home, but JJ Jameson obviously is gonna have his comeback. And I heard a rumor that it will still be J.K. Simmons, who is also in the other Spider-Man again.
Okay, let's choose something to stick with for now until Marvel gives us more information. You want to go with Spider-Man is easier to say, but I feel like Spider-Man's is more accurate. It's your call.
Let's go with Spider-Man's.
Spider-Man's, okay. The Spider-Man's.
Obviously, we spent a long time talking about those little hints on the board. But one of the big hints that Avery found was that the title Spider-Man No Way Home was in its own kind of like bubble outline thing that was shaped like Puerto Rico.
That was so cool because I saw that and I was like, this is a very specific shape. And I was like, oddly, I feel like I recognize the shape. And it was just me Googling a bunch of different countries until I was like, oh my God, it's Puerto Rico. And it does not feel like a stretch. If you want to Google it right now, compare it. It looks so much alike that could not have been an accident. And I'm questioning now, why does it look like Puerto Rico? And there's a couple of things. One, I wonder if it means that some mission is in Puerto Rico, some part of the movie takes place there. As far as we know, nothing was filmed in Puerto Rico, right, Ella?
Not that I've heard.
Yeah, so it's not like a nod to that. I think things were filmed in Atlanta, no?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I did come across was that Miles Morales is actually part Puerto Rican. So that would be so cool if they're trying to hint very, very subtly, because it looks like Puerto Rico. So what could they be nodding to that's not direct, that wouldn't obviously be like, oh my God, a Miles Morales reference? That would be such a cool way to bring him in. And we know that Miles Morales is actually confirmed already in the MCU. So we know that the amazing Donald Glover was in the first Spider-Man movie of the MCU, Spider-Man Homecoming, and he portrayed Aaron Davis, which, for those of you who haven't seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, first of all, watch it right now. That is such a good movie.
In my opinion, it's the best Spider-Man movie.
Which says a lot, because obviously we love the facial expressions and production of the actors. And to watch it animated like that, oh my God, it was perfection. But not to get off track here. I could talk about that movie for a lot longer. We get Miles Morales as the lead of that movie, and Aaron Davis is his uncle, who's like his closest confidant, but also turns out to be a major villain in Spider-Man. And we have Aaron Davis confirmed in the MCU as Donald Glover. And in that scene between him and Tom Holland's Peter Parker in Spider-Man Homecoming, he says he has a nephew in the area. So it's not 100%, but it is almost 100% confirmed that Miles Morales already exists in the MCU. So especially if we're getting a Spider-Verse, a multiverse in the MCU, I want Miles Morales content.
Me too. And I know we both have an idea of who we would like to play Miles Morales.
Yes,
And he's been a big one for a lot of people.
Shared person.
But we both agree that a great casting would be Caleb McLaughlin, who is known for Stranger Things. But he even posted a picture on Instagram where he recreated a picture of Miles Morales.
And it was just, the vibes were immaculate. Like he was giving real Miles Morales feels. He already knows and loves the character, which is always just fun when you have an actor taking on a role like this, that you want them to have the same energy as you, like the same excitement. And he's the perfect age, because he should be younger than Peter Parker. And on screen, I think that would just be so cool.
So now I think that we should get into another debate, because that's fun, right?
Good, Ella. For those of you who don't know, because why would you know this? But Ella is a debater. Woo!
I have a competition next weekend, so wish me luck.
My God. Hey, Ella, for our fans, do you want to mention what your category is?
I do a category called informative speaking, where you basically do a 10-minute speech on anything you want. And of course, my topic is superhero comic books.
Woo! So yes, we are always prepping for the Shawarma Joint. The Shawarma Joint, as we say, is always open, and Ella comes in here to do her debating prep.
All right. So anyways, let's get back to what I was saying. I'm going to ask you the age-old question.
Oh my God.
Who is the best Spider-Man?
Wow.
Is it Toby, Andrew, or Tom?
Okay. I know that we have different opinions, but we also, once again, in the Shawarma Joint and as Marvel fans, we are always respectful of other opinions. So Ella and I have good discussions about this. I feel that Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man / Peter Parker, because I think he portrays Peter Parker best, and to me, that's more important.
I think Tobey Maguire is the best overall, but Tom is the better Peter. But again, Tobey, in my opinion, is the best overall.
Yes, because you say you also care a lot about how he is a Spider-Man, so that like overlaps more.
Yeah, and I feel like Sam Raimi did such a good job with those movies. I mean, the third one, if you don't know what happened with the third one, Sam Raimi had a very specific idea of what he wanted to do, and then Sony told him, no, you have to do it our way. So he made it bad on purpose. But the first two were great.
For those of you who don't know, Sam Raimi is the director of Tobey Maguire's movies.
And he will be the director of Doctor Strange. Multiverse of Madness.
Yay! And then obviously Tom Holland's movies were MCU run. So that holds a special place in my heart. I just love, there's something number one about it tying into the MCU. And number two, first of all, not first of all, because number two. No, and then second, and then number two, I love his relationship with Tony Stark. I feel like that impact on Peter Parker's life is so huge. Number three, I personally just find it a lot more interesting to see at his original comic book age, to see him as a high school student, because I think both of the others, he just seemed much older. Like, but it just wasn't Peter Parker. Just as I just call Tom Holland Peter Parker, that should say why I think he's the best. But there's something about his awkwardness and his nerdiness that just gives Peter Parker life. And he might not seem like the best Spider-Man, but I feel like the fact that Peter Parker leans over so much just makes him more real of a superhero, that he doesn't really have an alter ego. He's just such a dork in every setting. And that makes him such a fun superhero for me to watch. But once again, I completely understand. I mean, watching the train scene from Tobey Maguire's is like,
it's so good.
Perfection.
And I totally agree with what you're saying about him being Peter. Like he looks like Peter Parker from the comics. Like
yes, Stan Lee said like he was just the perfect embodiment. So we love all the Spider-Mans here.
And we still love Andrew. Like he's such a great actor. Go watch The Social Network if you haven't seen it.
Yes.
He was too cool to be Peter Parker.
It's just the choices they made, like in the script and the portrayal of it. It wasn't that his movies were bad. They weren't bad movies. They just didn't feel like Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Spider-Man.
I think more he was a great actor trapped with like a bad script.
Yes. And it like, because he had his camera and his skateboard. He might have seemed like an outcast, but he wasn't like a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
we do have to say though, the basketball scene in his movies, love it. I love it. It's so good.
It's not so Peter Parker-y. It's an awesome scene and scenes, but it's not like it doesn't.
No, I'm just saying in general it's great, but it's not Peter Parker-y.
Yeah, we're not saying that it was all in all an awful movie. There were some good scenes and there were some cool Spider-Man nods. It just didn't have the same impact.
And we got the lizard from his movies.
Yes, I loved seeing that villain because Ella and I both grew up. I mean, I'm sure you watched the Tobey Maguire movies even younger than I did. I watched them not recently, but way after I watched Andrew Garfield's, because I grew up with him as Spider-Man. And I was always like, oh, like that didn't feel so much like Spider-Man, but it was cool. And then I watched all of them and I was like, oh my God, Spider-Man's the coolest guy.
Yeah.
Coolest meaning the nerdiest.
Before we get off this topic, I said earlier that my favorite Spider-Man movie is Into the Spider-Verse. What is yours?
Oh my God. Wow. I love Into the Spider-Verse, but I think I'm gonna go with Homecoming because it's not my favorite Marvel movie. My favorite Marvel movie is probably Civil War, but it's one of those movies like Ragnarok and Black Panther that when I'm in the mood for it, which is pretty much always, like it's so good separate that still connects the MCU that, oh my God, I could just watch that on repeat and gives me joy and stress for the character. But like the scene where he's under rubble and gets up, oh my God. The scene with the fair, yeah, that's my movie.
It was a very good movie.
Yes. Well, all of them, because we love our Spider-Man.
Yes.
Oh my God, Spider-Man.
I also love Tobey Maguire's first Spider-Man movie.
Well, yes, because that's the classic.
Mm-hmm.
And is that when we got Doctopus?
You mean Doc Ock?
No, I do not. Oh, here's our final debate of the episode.
It's Doc Ock. Doctopus would be a great name, but it is Doc Ock.
But then I disagree. The fan base, I know it's kind of been decided for like over a decade now, but Doc Ock is not the way to go. It should have been Dr. Octopus, should be the Doctopus. Come on.
No, but he was not in that movie. It was Green Goblin, William Dafoe.
Right. And then Doctopus was second?
Yeah.
Yes.
William Dafoe was Harry's dad, remember?
Yes, I do remember.
And his last words were, "Don't tell Harry."
Oh my God, that's another perfection of a scene.
It was also such a great scene, which I'm pretty sure we didn't get in Andrew's, and we didn't get it in Tom's, was the death of Uncle Ben.
Well, we do have Uncle Ben confirmed in the MCU, though, in a very small way. Was in Far From Home. We had when Peter was packing up to go on his vacation, his suitcase had, what was it, BP? The initials for Ben Parker.
Mm-hmm. And part of the reason, though, why I thought the scene in Toby's was so well done about his uncle's death was that Toby's crying face was so convincing. Like, it looked like he was actually crying. Like, not everyone can cry like Chris Evans. Like, people were saying that he looked so ugly and distressed. If you watched your uncle die, you would also be in distress.
But also, first of all, I just want to say, I love that you said not everyone can cry like Chris Evans. No one can cry like Chris Evans. Chris Evans is his own breed. But now he's given us so many great memes as well.
Yes. Pizza time.
Yes, the pizza time memes.
So speaking of the other Spider-Mans, there has been a lot of news surrounding Andrew Garfield either on set or just involved with this movie. So we've only heard really two things. I did a lot of digging on the internet trying to find stuff, but I could only find two different stories or rumors. So this was an actual post on Instagram of Andrew Garfield's stuntman, William Spencer, from his Spider-Man movies, on set with Tom Holland's Spider-Man stunt double, Greg Townley. And not on set on another project, on set of Spider-Man. And that post was shortly taken down right after. They were, in the post, they were doing backflips together and all this stuff. And it, again, was on set of Spider-Man. And then the next thing we got was right after they wrapped. Of course, as usual on most movies, the crew gets like either just like a sweatshirt or a whole goodie bag. And of course, the crew of Spider-Man did. And I don't know if it was like a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or something, but you could see Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man suit on the right, and on the left, you could see the font used on Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man posters. Also, if you want to hear me talk about this again, follow us on TikTok. I posted a TikTok about it. Our TikTok is the Shawarma Joint.
Yes, and while you're at it, follow us on Twitter at Joint Shawarma and on Instagram at the Shawarma Joint. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel where you're listening to this. Now we've plugged ourselves.
Yes.
So we're ready to give another quick shout out to our buddy, the Multiverse, and say, we know you're coming. So just please don't hurt us. And we're excited to meet you.
Give us X-Men.
Give us X-Men. Please undo Ralph Boner. Like, I get it, Marvel, haha, so funny. Undo it. Like, tell us that that's really...
Peter Maximoff deserved better.
Honestly, if anyone was to give himself the name Ralph Boner, it would be Peter Maximoff. So, not really hoping, but deep down, part of me is like, there's a chance, but I doubt it.
We want Peter.
And Magneto.
And Magneto. And Logan.
I want them all. Just give me the X-Men.
Spoiler alert, Dark Phoenix should have gone with Steve, but of course Ray had to go and kill her.
Well, before we, go all into X-Men, because, we could talk for a while about X-Men, this is still our Spider-Man episode, and it's in honor of the fact that while we're wrapping up this episode, Spider-Man 3 did wrap filming. And once again, that's why we're doing this episode. So to close out, we're saying what they closed us out with, which was a really cute cast photo with everyone and stunt doubles, and we're entering phase 4, which is so exciting, and everything we've gotten so far has been pretty exciting. So that's a wrap.
And remember to watch out for Spider-Man No Way Home on December 17th of this year.
Oh my God. And now, as we always do for our returning fans, here is our end quote of the day. With great power comes great podcasting.